Hey, hello everyone. How are you doing? How's it going? I am Dr. Alicia with Coaching with Dr. Alicia, and today we are going to talk about how to find a partner. This is Dr. Alicia's Healing Haven. This is my book club, How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The 5 Keys to Mindful Loving by fellow therapist David Richo. And let's see, we are starting on the bottom of page 83, and we're going to find out how to find a partner. And I like this introduction because he speaks about are you really cut out to be in a relationship? And I think that's so great because some of us just aren't in the position to really be committed to another person, right? Because you don't want to commit yourself to another person and end up inflicting pain and suffering onto another individual. So you want to make sure that you're in the space where you can find a partner. And also in that process, you want to be in a space where you are able to look at another potential mate and determine, is this the kind of person that can be an adult in relationships? We've all talked about chapter 1 and chapter 2. So you guys can go back into the show notes. I have links in the show notes to chapter 1. I have links in the show notes to the book club of chapter 2. That really sets everything up for what we talk about today, which is finding a partner, finding a love for someone else. And the first 2 chapters really dig into the 5 keys to mindful loving, the 5 keys to mindful loving. That's the first chapter. And chapter 2 really talks about what happens in your life when you were not able to have the 5 keys to mindful loving that wasn't given to you when you were young, growing up, and how it can operate in your current life and what you can do to save yourself, to give yourself what you missed at home. And what I love about the first 2 chapters is that it ends with journal exercises. So he's breaking it all down. But what I love about what David Richo does is that he gives you practice, things that you can do so that you can grow up and live a life of peace as a nice, comfortable, mindful adult. So that is what we're doing today. And hey, everybody. Hey, Dr. Vibe and Dennis and James. These names are so familiar. Maya, Patricia, how you doing? There's no sound? Wait, can y'all hear me? I hope you can hear me. Let me know if there's sound. If you can hear me, say yes. I hear everybody. I can hear myself. Let me know if there's no sound. Dennis, there's sound? Yes. Okay, there's sound. I got a little worried. So let me see. Let me change some of the colors around. I don't want red. Let's change some colors. Let's get some blue going on. Blue is for what I consider, blue is for openness. Blue is about trust. So I want to get some blue in here and make it in a nice little friendly bubble. So that's what I want to do. Okay, so yes, you all can hear me, you can see me, but what's more important is that you can hear. Hi, Riley, how you doing? Mr. Forrest, James Watkins. Wait, is that cousin James? I don't know. I have a cousin named James Watkins. I don't know if that's James Watkins, but James, he has found a mate, a beautiful mate, and one of my favorite family members, if that's him. So we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna talk about finding a partner, and we start on chapter 3, which is on page 83. So let's get started today. Finding a partner. We cannot convince anyone to love us. Damn, that's deep. I think it's really interesting because the author starts the beginning of chapter 3 on finding a partner, and the very first point he makes, his main thesis, is we cannot convince anyone to love us. And you don't want to convince someone to love you, right? That's not the kind of relationship you want to be in, where you have to convince somebody to pay attention to you, to love you, to give you everything that you want in your life. You definitely don't want that. You don't want to convince anybody. And even if you try to, you can't do it anyway. So what this author is saying is that we can't convince anyone to love us. We can't force it, right? We can only open ourselves to love when it happens naturally. It has to happen naturally. We can't force it. You can put yourself in a position where you're open for love, and it will come to you if you're open for it. But you definitely don't want to force it, right? Our best path into such openness is to be as loving as we can be. Give up concern for whether others respond in kind. I like this because I've always talked about this, that if you want love in your life, you're going to have to be lovable, right? And I think that's what this author is saying. So the very first step in finding a partner is to become lovable. To find love in your life, you need to be lovable, right? So I like this because this is really coinciding with a lot of things that I talk about in some other videos that I've done. We love because we love, not to cajole anyone to love us back. Paradoxically, a non-expecting love is most likely to awaken love in others toward us. So if you're walking around and you are a lovable person and you're walking around being your nice, lovable self, you're going to attract love to you. And that's the first step in finding a partner. So it's really interesting. When I was young growing up, I would go to camp and I would be like, Mom, I don't know anybody in camp. How am I going to make friends? And my mom used to tell me, to make a friend, you have to be a friend. That's what she used to say to me. She said, if you want to make friends, you got to be a friend to other people. And what she's saying is accurate, because here we're saying if you want to find love, you have to be lovable. That's right, Natasha. Become what you desire. So if you want somebody who's ambitious, then you're going to have to be ambitious, right? That ambition, like sees like, dislike doesn't necessarily see each other, right? So in any case, what they say, when intimacy is real, our partner does not need to be talked into it. So if you got to talk somebody into loving you and talk somebody into participating with you and going on a date with you, if you have to talk somebody into it, then it's not really love anyway. It's not authentic. It's not real, genuine intimacy, because true love will just come naturally to you. They're saying it comes naturally. There's no need to force it. There's no need to make it happen, right? Falsehoods. Thank you, Patrick. Falsehoods. You don't want that kind of love anyway, because it isn't real. It's not real. Okay, so in any case, when intimacy is real, our partner does not need to be talked into it, nor is she sacrificing herself, submitting to us, enduring the relationship. It's not going to last. It's not going to stand the test of time because it never was real in the first place. This makes sense. She just naturally shows the intimacy style that fits for success in a relationship. Both of us do. What is that style? It is an ongoing interplay of the 5 A's. What's the 5 A's? I know Dr. Vibe knows the 5 A's. The 5 A's are attention. The 5 A's are allowance, acceptance, affection, and appreciation. If you want to know what the 5 A's mean, you can go to the show notes. In the show notes, I listed out the 5 A's, and I gave definitions to them. So if you go to the show notes, you'll have more in depth of what the 5 A's are. If you go to chapter 1 and you look at the videos we did on chapter 1, it explains and expands upon the definitions in the show notes about what the 5 A's are. So that is what love is. It's an ongoing interplay of attention, acceptance, affection, allowance, and appreciation. There you go. That's probably all you need to know about finding a partner, honestly. Okay. They go on. Perhaps the most promising partners comes to us when we neither seek nor avoid the possibility of finding someone. We simply live in accord with our deepest needs and wishes and notice people we meet. We trust the universe in its miraculous power of synchronicity to bring us just the person best for us. I like this sentence too, because you have to trust that the right person will come to you. And honestly, I don't consider it being the universe. Like, the universe will bring me somebody. I think we need to be a little more specific, right? I think if you're talking to Reverend James Watkins here, he would say, God brings you the person you need in your life. You're right. It's not necessarily the universe. But if you ask somebody like me, I'm more of a spiritualist. And I believe that instead of the universe, that you have to trust that the God force in you is going to always look out for your betterment and always bring you what you need. So that's the lens I put on that. I don't necessarily say the universe will bring me a man. I say the God force within me is strong enough to attract what I need in my life in this moment. So it all depends on whatever you connect with, the universe, you connect with God. Maybe some people think God is outside of themselves, but I think God speaks to me all the time. God is in me, right? I am hopefully a creation of God. And so I am part of that. So that's how I kind of see it as a spiritual thing. But there is a synchronicity and there is a process, and you have to know and believe this process, that just the person who's best for you will come to you, right? So number one, you can't force anybody to love you. You can't convince anybody. And if you do, that's not real love anyway. It won't sustain itself. That's the first lesson he's saying on how to find a partner. The second piece to finding a partner is just to know that the perfect person is going to come to you. You have to know and believe that this will happen to you, right? And I haven't even made it past the second paragraph. So I love this. Okay. But even more important than finding a partner. So what's more important than finding a partner is taking care of our hearts. And in the dating game, it can be devastating enterprise of broken promises and disappointed expectations. So he's letting you know this is the reality of life. You're going to kiss some frogs and it's not going to turn into a prince, right? So even in the dating world, there's going to be some broken promises. There's going to be some disappointed expectations. That's realistic. But in the midst of this all, the third thing that this book is talking about is that you have to know how to take care of yourself. You have to know how to protect your heart. I love this. Okay, look at this. Petrolia. Yes, finding a partner is long overdue for me. Okay, well, listen, pay attention today, because now you will know exactly what to do to attract this person to you. So the first thing is to know that you can't convince a partner to come, that the universe or God, or however you put that, has a miraculous power. I believe we have a miraculous power in ourselves to find just the perfect person we need. And also we have to understand that in this dating world, we cannot betray our true nature. Okay? Because we have to take care of ourselves. We can't betray ourselves in a desperate attempt to get somebody to want us. No, desperate. So I know Petrolia Moss, Miss Moss here, you can't betray yourself. It may be long overdue for you, but maintain and protect your heart in that process. We have to retain our boundaries. If the process is not to end in self-abandonment and self-deprecation. So you cannot abandon your heart and put yourself out there to be abused, right? And no self-deprivation. You are worthy of love, right? You're worthy of the 5 A's. Whether you received it or not growing up, all of us are worthy of the 5 A's, to give and to receive. We cannot allow anyone to take advantage of us or put us down for trying. Ain't no shame, Miss Moss, in trying to find someone. There's no shame attached to that. I love that. Looking at ourselves from this perspective, we think, I want a partner and I can take care of myself as the first step. I remain the century over my vulnerable inner self during this process, which may be quite dangerous to my self-esteem. Well, I like this because this is very straightforward. It's saying that sometimes you will hear a no. Sometimes you will be disappointed. Sometimes, what did they say? Sometimes you will have broken promises, right? But you can't allow that to damage your self-esteem. You can't allow that to take away from how you feel about yourself, because you are worthy of the 5 A's, to give and receive. Yet we cannot be overcautious, for our sense of aliveness is directly proportional to how much we allow our longings to have their full career in our heart. Longing is a source of motivation and thus of achievement. Longing is a source of motivation and achievement. When you long for something, that helps you. When you long for health, physical health, that gets you out of bed to go to the gym. When you long for eating right, that makes sure you get your fresh fruits and vegetables, right? So this longing is a gift. Longing is a source of motivation and thus of achievement. I think longing is also the God force in you speaking to you about your purpose in life. I also believe that too. In a profound way, longing is our capacity to love. Our goal as healthy people is not to give up longing for a relationship. So don't be ashamed because you want to be in a relationship. I like Miss Moss over here. Don't be ashamed. Finding a partner is long overdue for me, but I don't want to have any shame connected to that. It's okay to acknowledge that and to see that you're a perfect human being for acknowledging that in yourself. So I love that. Our goal is of healthy people is not to give up longing for a relationship, but to let it be fulfilled moderately by others while following a model of mutuality rather than neediness. Yes. After all, relationships are not meant to fulfill us completely, but to provide us with ever-changing and ever-evolving resources as we move through life. Yeah, I don't think there's anything about you complete me or, all of that. It's just knowing that you have this longing for a relationship. No need to be ashamed about it, but going forth through life, being smart about the choices and protecting yourself. That's great. Okay, let's move on. This happens when our feelings are welcomed and supported with the 5 A's. And when more and more of our shadow side, remember, shadow side are things that we hide about ourselves, things that we are ashamed of our shadow side is perceived by the other, who meets it with the 5 A's as well. So what this means is finding that special person for you. They see your flaws, they see your insecurities, but they love you anyway. They see you for who and what you are, but they still love you because you're not perfect, and no one is perfect. So and I like that. That's saying your shadow side, the things that you may be ashamed of, and your failures and all of your insecurities, they love you anyway. I like that. Through the 5 A's. That's great. In early life, we may have had to hide our deepest selves in order to maintain the bond with our parents. We may have become used to paying the price. And so we went on paying it in relationships too. We stayed where we had to hide. We stayed where we had to hide. That changes as we become healthy adults. So healthy adults mean acknowledging your flaws. That's what it means to be a healthy adult. It worked for you as a child because those are the things you needed as a child to survive in those moments where you didn't feel comfortable. You had to lie to your parents. You had to, any of you all, I don't know if it happens nowadays, but back in the day when we would have exams and our teachers would grade our exams, and you would have to bring home your exam where you did less than perfect, and you would try to get a red pen and try to hide the fact that you didn't study for the spelling test like you were supposed to, and that A, you're trying to hide it to make it look like an A, but it's really an F, those things that you tried to hide, or really an F, you can kind of turn that into a B, and then try to erase it. Hiding the fact that you didn't study, or you needed help and you didn't feel comfortable asking an adult for help. A lot of times when children fail a spelling test, it's because there wasn't an adult really present to help them study, or paying attention. So, but that child can feel embarrassed by that. So those are things that you try to hide, right? Your spelling abilities. It was a survival mechanism when you were a child. The thing is that when you become an adult and you're trying to be an adult in relationships, it doesn't serve you anymore to lie about who and what your insecurities are. It doesn't serve you. You can't be an adult in relationships by repeating some of the childish behaviors that you did as a child, right? It's normal for a child to do that, to feel ashamed. But if you haven't overcome that, then you learn to carry these patterns onto adult relationships, and it ends up being childish. So yeah, I really think that that it serves us when we were younger, but we need to open up as an adult in relationships. We stayed where we had to hide. That changes as we become healthy adults. We still have needs, but they no longer have us. When we tolerate not having our needs met fully, our fear melts into healthy vulnerability, and a more generous love awakens in us. A healthy person looks and longs for an open, caring, daring partner capable of attuning and holding his or her feelings. That's what a healthy person does. This grants unprecedented permission for the frightened child within, who's scared about what's going to happen when you bring an F home, right? Within, to release old hurts and new ties. That's what a healthy person does in relationships. You have to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is equals to adult relationships. Dag. Not once did they mention what? How much money is in your bank account? Not once did they mention what you look like. Not once did they mention anything external. All they mentioned so far in this book on finding a partner, and we're not talking about high value, low value. I do not believe in high value people and low value people. I know that people say that a lot, but I don't believe in that. I think all of us are valuable. You cannot convince anybody to love you. You have to trust in the God force power, of miraculous power, of synchronicity to bring just the person you want in your life. You have to protect your heart. You have to acknowledge the fact that you are longing for someone to love and someone to love you. You have to acknowledge that without shame. Wow. And you have to get into a place where you can be vulnerable, where you can, a healthy person looks and longs for an open, caring, daring partner capable of attuning to and holding his or her feelings. This grants unprecedented permission of the frightened child. We all have that frightened child in us, to release old hurts and trust new ties. You have to be the ability to trust, and that is healthy. That's it. That's the introduction to how to find a partner. I think that's a lot of good stuff here. How y'all feeling? I think that's great. People who are just coming in, I just want to say I am Dr. Alicia with Coaching with Dr. Alicia. You can find me on Instagram if you so like to see some of the things that I put up on Instagram. Where's my Instagram? It's up here somewhere. There I am on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. That's my Instagram. And you can find me there and see some of the things that I post on Instagram. Today, we are reading How to Be an Adult in Relationships, the 5 Keys to Mindful Loving. We are on chapter 3, which is about how to find a partner. So today, we are going to cover the first couple of pages on what you need to do to find a partner. And we've learned that you got to be lovable. To be loved, you're going to have to be lovable. And I love that lesson. And there he's saying, David Richo, in 5 Keys to Mindful Loving, he's saying a lot of the things that I talk about. So that's really good that another therapist sees the same thing I see. And being a licensed therapist, I just want to educate you guys on what I have to go through to maintain my clinical license. I have to do trainings and I have to maintain my license. I can't have any criminal activity in my background, no malpractice issues. I have to pay a lot of money to the board in order to renew my license every 2 years. There's so many CEUs I have to get. It's a lot. I've been licensed for over 20 years, practicing for over 30 years. It's a lot. It takes a lot to become a professional. And I just want to say that because there are a lot of really wonderful experts on relationships, but not all of them are licensed. So I just wanted to just educate you guys on what it means to be a licensed therapist and what it means to not be a licensed therapist. So I just wanted to educate you guys on what it takes, because I go through quite a bit to maintain my license as well as maintain my job. I'm a full-time college professor. Just telling you a little bit about myself. And you can follow me on Instagram if you want. Let me put back up my website. Oh boy, I gotta find it in this list. There's a lot of things in here. Let's see, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Where is it? I don't know where it is. Here it is, coachingwithdralicia.com. Y'all bear with me. I'm trying to get used to YouTube. Okay. And okay. So we're moving on. We're at the bottom of page 84. And this next section I think is really interesting. It brings out the question that all of you all need to have in your mind, all y'all single people, and some of y'all people who are in a relationship that don't need to be in a relationship. Ask yourself this question: am I cut out for a close, intimate relationship? Are y'all cut out? How many of y'all in the chat? How about you? Dubai? Dubai Silk Route? I like your eyeball. Nice painted eye there. Are you cut out? Are you? Do you know? Am I cut out for close, intimate relationships? Put a yes in the chat if you are. If you feel like you're cut out. How many of you all don't know? Don't know. Well, today you're going to find out. Today I'm going to talk about how to figure out if you're cut out. And most important, how to figure out if you are in the dating scene, how to figure out if a potential partner is cut out for a relationship. I think so. Tiffany doesn't know. Thank you for being honest. Deborah doesn't know. I think that's great. It's great to know when you are cut out and when you're not. Sharon says no. Patrick's like, yes. Patrick is got a nice little football over there. Okay, so yeah. So Patrick's like, yes. So you already know. So let's see the people who know they're cut out for a relationship and the people who don't know and the people who say, I'm not cut out right now for intimate, close, intimate relationship. Let's read on and let's see if it's true. And Maya, I like Maya. Maya is like, I'm not sure yet. It shifts from day to day. Some days you're like, I think I could deal with somebody. And then other days you probably like, nah, I'm glad I'm single. Okay. So let's see. An adult in a committed, okay, let me start again. An adult commitment is a thoroughly truthful enterprise of ongoing love. Truthful enterprise of ongoing love. So what that says is that if you like to lie a lot, then I don't know if you're, if you're accustomed to adult commitments. It entails an unrelenting willingness to keep agreements and handle obstacles by addressing, processing, and resolving conflicts. Happiness and mutual respect results. Oh my goodness. So how about this? Are you the kind of person who's willing to keep agreements? Who's willing to handle obstacles? Because you're going to have obstacles in your relationships. Are you the kind of person that can handle obstacles by facing it full on, by addressing it, by processing it, and by knowing that you have to solve the inevitable conflict, right? Because happiness and mutual respect results. So if you like to tell a lot of lies, that's not happiness and mutual respect, right? If you're confronted with an obstacle and you don't want to take it hands on, you don't want to take obstacles, then maybe you're not ready. I think that's what this is saying. And you don't know how to resolve conflicts. You're not even interested in it. Then maybe you're not cut out. I think that's where he's going. True love cannot be fooled, nor does it fool others. As mature adults, we can no longer be charmed by looks or sweet talk. That's superficial. Yeah, that's interesting because I just talked about that. They're talking about openness and willingness to love and be loved, but not once did they talk about how somebody looks. Not once did they talk about any of this superficial things. All that matters is enduring mutual commitment. Mutual commitment. That's all that matters. Some people confuse attachment with love. Go away. We may feel attached to someone and imagine we love him. Someone may be attached to us and we imagine he loves us. But mindful love is bonding by commitment, not attachment by clinging on to something. Being attached will immobilize us. Love, on the other hand, helps us achieve a progressively effective and joyous evolution. Just because you're connected to somebody or any of those things, that does not mean that there's love, right? Isn't that interesting? We can also mistake dependency for connection. Insecure people may try to create a connection with us by fostering dependency through the offer of what? Of riches, humor, flattery, indebtedness, or feeling guilty for letting somebody go because you feel like you owe them something. So you're with them because You feel like you're with them because of duty. I'm not with this person because I really want to be with them. I'm with them because I feel bad for them. I feel sorry for them. And I feel like it's my duty to be with them. That's not adult love, and so forth. Wow. The 5 A's, especially allowing, offers the reliable alternative path. Yes, it's so fascinating because this kind of reminds me of like the Dream Girls. Y'all know the Dream Girls? No, 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 no way. I'm living without you. Men hate that song, by the way. The Dream Girls, the famous Dream Girls song about I'm not going and you and you and you're gonna love me. Men hate that song. And I know why, because it scares them. Because they're like, stop being clingy and attached to me. I don't effie. Yes, thank you. As a woman, I thought it was beautiful and romantic, but then I started looking around and men hate that. Men really hate that. Yeah, love bombing is not love. Love bombing is manipulation. Thank you. Yes, Dennis, I love that song too. It's very emotional, but remember, it's clinginess. It's attaching and clinginess. It's not mindful love, right? Somebody, Derek, you want someone to be clingy? So that song doesn't bother you, but it bothered my son when he heard it. And I was talking to Dr. Boyce about it, and he was like, I do not like this song. He can't stand it. So anyway, I started singing that to him, and he wasn't for it. Okay. Of course, not everyone is cut out for a fully committed relationship. Someone can work diligently on all the practices in this book and still not be able to fulfill the needs of another adult in an intimate bond. Those are facts right there. And they should never be. You should never look for a partner to complete you. Like the Jerry Maguire. Remember how the end of Jerry Maguire and it was like, you complete me. No, that's not healthy, right? You should never look for someone to complete you. But such a person may not be relationship oriented. You need to know when you're not. I love the people who said, no, I'm not ready for a relationship. Who said no? There was a bunch of people who said no. They said they weren't ready. I think that's the most beautiful thing you can discover about yourself, the fact that you're not ready. Some people aren't relationship oriented, or may simply have no interest in doing the work a relationship requires. Some people just aren't in the space to do it. And when someone tells you, I'm just not in the space to be in a relationship, you need to believe them. Don't try to convince them otherwise. Oh, I can love them out of it. I can forget them. I really like them. They should really want to be in a relationship. No, it doesn't work that way. Just let them go, right? Let them go. Some people are more comfortable with and only psychologically calibrated for light relationships, casual friendships. They're just not ready for deep love, right? That's interesting because I was talking to my son who is handsome. He's 21 years old. He's 5. Oh no, he's 6'8". He's tall. He's just gorgeous. And he's like, Mom, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to be in a relationship. And I tell him, if you're not ready for this commitment, then you need to be honest with these women that they love him, right? He needs to be honest with them and tell them, I'm just not in the space right now. Because he's like, I have to text them every day and call them every day. I'm like, yeah, you need to do that to have a relationship with a woman. And he just doesn't understand it. But anyway, that's the thing. He's not ready. And you need to be able to recognize when you're not ready. But I would love for him to find somebody one day. But that's what I want for him. But he's got to want it for himself. Okay. So if you're just into light relationships and casual friendships, that's wonderful. They are driven not by fear of intimacy, but by truthful recognition that intimacy is just not for them in this moment, right? There's no shame in not wanting a relationship. Single people who are happy to be single, and I see them online and they're talking about the fact that they're single and they're happy that way. I think we should all give them a round of applause, right? I don't think we should shame people. You shouldn't shame people for wanting to be in a relationship, but you darn sure shouldn't shame people for recognizing they're just not in a place where they want to be in a relationship. I think it will come when it's supposed to come, right? So no shame, right? Because the healthy person is able to recognize it, right? There is no shame in not wanting a relationship. A healthy person is not one in a relationship, but one in his or her own skin, right? A healthy person is someone who's comfortable in their skin, like they're okay with how things are going. That's a healthy person, mindful, right? So many of us marry out of social convention rather than out of a choice that reflected our deepest inclinations, readiness, and personality. There's some people who are married to someone out of obligation and they really don't want to be married to that person, or they're in a relationship for someone because they feel like societal pressures are making them be in a relationship and they don't think that they're ready for it. So I really do think that that we need to recognize these things, right? People who have it in them only to be friends, never spouses, want the rhythms of distance and closeness that friendship provides. It's a different. I was just talking to my husband about this. I said, we do these pillow talks together sometimes. And I said, wow, I was listening to our pillow talk. I don't go back and listen to them ever. But I was like, the conversation that Dr. Boyce and I have, it is unlike conversation that he has with anybody else. And it should be, right? I say things to him that I don't think anyone else would say to him because I have that permission to do it because we are in an intimate relationship, right? So no one else could say that about, no one else could say stuff to my husband, but only I can, right? So it's okay if I say it, but if someone else said it, I'd be like, hold on, what you doing? That's not appropriate, right? So it's that sort of difference, right? It's a difference there, a set of expectations. I say stuff to him that he probably won't mind, but if someone else said those same things, it'd be a different story. So that's what comes along with being married, that level of closeness, right? But some people prefer absence, alternating with perseverance rather than continued presence. This is a legitimate option, but social pressures, once internalized, may push such a person into marriage. And the result is two unhappy people and perhaps unhappy children. Children know when the love is real and when you're pretending. Children know when you're pretending. Staying together for the children doesn't work. You have to stay together for the partner. And in turn, that helps the children, right? So staying together just for the children is not enough to have you stay together. You really, if that's the only reason why you're together, you should rethink that decision because you think that you're helping the children, but you really aren't. Figure out a way to genuinely love each other and to push through whatever your resentments are. You really owe it to your children to work on authentic love with each other if you really want to create a really loving household for your children. You need this two grown adults in that household needs to also get on board with that. Yes, the name of the book is How to Be an Adult in Relationships, The 5 Keys to Mindful Loving, David Richo. We are on chapter 3 and I'm on page 85. And this book is like almost 300 pages. I think we'll be together for a while. Okay. In the conventional view, living together is considered the logical goal of relating and an indicator of success. But the reality is that some people don't do well in mutual living situations for whatever reason, right? And they are better off in separate quarters, even when the relationship becomes more intimate. You need to be honest about that, right? Neighbors might have a better chance at stress-free relating than live-in partners. I noticed this was a trend in some marriages where you live in two separate households, to each its own, right? It is up to both partners to make the uniquely appropriate plan that fits them. I do believe that. Like, more power to you if you feel like that sort of arrangement is the best for your relationship. That's fine with me. A primary goal is a relationship. The primary goal in a relationship is to make sure it has the best chance of surviving, and that may not happen under one roof. There we go. He got that out of the way. I think what he was trying to do is he's setting up what he really wants to say, but he has to get that out the way, right? I think David Richo is smart enough to be able to recognize the caveats to what his theory that he's putting out. I think that's really a smart move, because a lot of people are going to be like, well, I don't live with my partner and we get along just fine and blah, blah. So he's getting rid of that, right? He's saying, he's acknowledging that there's other ways of being. Yeah. So he's doing a good job of that. Moving on. Marriage and family are a special vocation and not meant for everyone. There's some people who aren't meant to be a spouse, and it's okay. There are some people who really aren't meant to be a mother or a father, and I think that's okay. The beauty of it is to be able to recognize it, because marriage and family, it's a special vocation. It ain't for everybody, and it's okay. It is an individual, not a collective choice. It is for those who will enjoy a commitment to lifelong working through, working on, working within a context of family. The issue for a healthy adult is not which choice she makes, but whether it reflects her true desires and is carried out with integrity. This book, including the practices, is meant for readers across the entire spectrum. So he's trying to tell you, everybody in this whole spectrum, sexuality and gender, all right? Married and unmarried, friends and companions, anyone trying to love someone and be happy, which are the rights of every human. Every human, right? How do you know whether you are cut out for a relationship? So here we go. He set the stage. He had to lay out the theories. He had to pull his caveats in. He had to direct us in. Now he's getting down to look at the following categories and see which one accurately describes you. Here we go. Y'all all right? Everybody okay? We're now about to see what it is. Are you cut out for a close, intimate relationship? Is that person you're interested in? Is that person cut out for a close, intimate relationship? Are you dating and you got a bunch of people here and there that you're considering being in a close and intimate relationship with? Here are some of the things that you need to learn about yourself and a potential partner. These people are not cut out. Some hardwired traits prevents me from succeeding in relationships. Here they are. Examples. Introversion so extreme that I cannot tolerate togetherness for a long time. Introversion so extreme that I can't tolerate being around another person for a long time. That's how you know you ain't cut out. Here's another one. Mental derangement. Is your mental health just kind of out there? You know if you're mentally deranged. It's interesting he said mental derangement, but you know what this means. You're not mentally stable. Active addictions. Misogyny. misogyny, or misanthropy, criminal maliciousness or dangerousness. He got that out of the way. He said, if you are the kind of person who's so introverted, you can't even be with somebody for a long period of time, then maybe you are not cut out. If you're the kind of person who has a lot of mental health issues and you haven't gotten them in check, maybe you need to get them in check first. There's some derangement, right? And any active addictions, misogyny, misanthropy, that means negative attitudes toward men, negative attitudes toward women, right? Criminal maliciousness or dangerousness. You're not ready. Okay, so you're essentially not ready. Existential. So there's some existential sort of philosophies about relationships that lets you know if you are ready or if someone is not ready for dating. Here they are. Some of my traits keep me from succeeding in relationship, but these are changeable. So he's saying you can kind of work with some of these a little bit, but you need to think about it. It will take a commitment of time and work. So he's saying these are the people who are really difficult in relationships. These are people that it's going to take a lot of time and work to get these people walking down the aisle. Who are these people? Extreme and mild examples, right? I have had no success at relationships. Each one is worse than the one before it. Oh my gosh. So you're a serial person that seems to get into relationships that are just awful. Every single one gets worse as you go on. That means you haven't learned anything. That means you don't take accountability for your part in why that relationship went south. I mean, that has a lot to do with that mentality. I think that's what he's saying. Here's another scenario. I have to have things just so. I just have to have it just so. Yeah, you're not flexible in your thinking. You're very rigid in how things need to be. And everything has to be just so. You can't bend or be flexible. Then maybe you're not cut out for a relationship. I am in an intimacy defeating cycle and do not seem to be able to break it. For example, as you get close, I run. Yes. I've seen this a lot in people who have a very disorganized attachment. They yearn for closeness, but as soon as closeness comes, they get very scared because they think they'll be betrayed, and then they run. So it's almost like this push and pull back and forth. Come close to me. You're too close. Get away. This sort of back and forth. You really need to work on those things to be in a position where you are capable of an adult relationship. This is how to be an adult in relationships. How to be an adult in relationships, right? My buffed and bantam ego reigns supreme. Oh, it's all about you and your ego. You can't be in a relationship when you're all stuck into this ego thing. I cannot be wrong or corrected. You think you're the king of the castle, the queen of the castle. Every time somebody tries to talk to you about things that are going on with them, you take offense and you can't deal with it. You minimize other people because you're right and no one can tell you nothing. That's not the kind of person you need to be in a relationship with. And if you're that kind of person, maybe you're not cut out, right? You can't let anybody be first. So it's this competition. Or let anyone hurt me without severe reprisals. So yes, this means you're the kind of person where if someone wrongs you, you're not going to talk about and be vulnerable with how they treated you. You're going to get even with them. You're going to get back at them. Vindictive people probably aren't in the place where they need to be in a relationship. Essentially, not the best catch, right? This is why you need to date for a while. You need to observe people for a while and see how they act in certain situations. I cannot or choose not to be faithful to one person. I just can't be faithful to anybody. I have to be deceptive. I have to lie. That's childish, right? You need to be honest and open. I can't be faithful to one person. I become stuck in my unhappiness in a relationship. And it leads to neither changing that relationship or leaving that relationship. If you're the kind of person that's just stuck in your misery and you're not actively working to make sure that the relationship operates in the way that's healthy, you're just going to sit there and be nasty. Have y'all seen those videos of those really old married people and they're cussing each other out and they're miserable and they don't really care to fix things or to be kind and loving to each other? I'm not sure they're really cut out. It's toxic, right? That's what he's saying. This is toxic sort of thing. You're stuck in your unhappiness in a relationship and it doesn't lead to changing nor leaving. Yes, immature people need not apply for relationships. Yeah, I really think that Maya brings up a good point. It's just like, pay attention to this and know where you see yourself, honestly see yourself, and ask yourself, is this the kind of thing I want to do? Is this a trait of myself? Because if so, you may need to work on this, right? I prefer the pain of staying together unhappily to the pain it takes to end the relationship. Terrible, right? That's not adult. That's childish. That's clinging on. That's, you're going to love me. I'm not going nowhere, right? I have a low level desire for sex. I don't need to expand on that, but I mean, that's what intimacy is about. Part of intimacy is sexual intimacy. So yeah, that makes sense, right? I seem to have low or no capacity to forgive. You need to be able to forgive. You can't be vindictive, right? A relationship does not truly, consistently, and enduring fulfill my deepest needs. It's against my values. It's against my wishes. But it's a choice I make in reaction to societal or family pressure. If that's you, or if you hear a potential mate speak like this, maybe not the right person, maybe not cut out for a relationship. I make in reaction to society. Yeah, decisions you make in reaction to society. I am just as glad to see my partner go away or stay. It don't matter. You don't care if your partner leaves you. You don't care if your partner stays. You're indifferent to it all. Not necessarily cut out for relationships. As of now, I require 75% of my waking hours to be spent alone. Not the best person for a relationship and needs to work on some of that. You prefer to be alone, then that's your season of being alone. And so it's better to recognize that and not get into a relationship with somebody. How can you give them the 5 A's when you prefer to be alone 75% of the time? Out of 4 days, you want to be alone 3 of those 4 days and only spend 1 day with your partner. That's not it. Some people see this issue in extremist terms. We either are or are not cut out for relationships. In reality, we can combine apparent opposites. We know our own comfort level and design our commitment level to match it. We do not have to fear that somebody will take over the Oval Office of our life and mind. Yeah, if you see a relationship as a burden, something that you're burdened to have to do every day. And if you see sharing your life with somebody as somebody taking over the Oval Office, you're not comfortable with compromise and being flexible and being open for another person to come into your life. That's something to think about, right? We can decide the size of the foothold a partner can have in our psyche. This happens in 2 ways. We know and respect our deepest needs, values, and wishes, and we find a partner who agrees with them and willingly joins us in them. So you need to know exactly how much contact with another person you're able to maintain, how much of your life you're able to share with them. You need to know this about yourself so you can have an honest conversation with a potential mate about that. The words consenting adults says it all. Partners who are truly adult and truly agree can work out a pleasing plan. Yes. So these are questions you need to ask yourself. Like, are you in a headspace mentally to be able to share your life with somebody? I think that's what this is saying. And he's asking these questions and creating these scenarios for you to honestly think about whether you are ready, cut out for a committed relationship. And I think most of all, it's important to know this because you want to know if when you're dating somebody, you're like, whoa, he can't even tolerate being around somebody more than, more than 25% of his time. Maybe he's not cut out for it. Maybe we should just be friends, because friends has a different connotation with it than someone intimate that you talk to every single day. Y'all all right? How's everybody? Just to talk, we are here talking about how to be an adult in relationships, the 5 keys to mindful loving by David Richo. And we are on chapter 3. We're talking all about how to find a partner. I think these are excellent. I was surprised that in the first 3 pages, he kind of broke it down really nicely about what you need to look at to be in a relationship. And, he's now talked about, are you even cut out for a close and intimate relationship? We just went through all of that. And now I think on page 87, David Richo is now talking about qualified candidates for relationships. So what qualifies? What are things we need to look for in a partner? We've covered what healthy relationships, how to be lovable. We've covered how to be lovable. We've covered the fact that you deserve the 5 A's and you need to protect yourself from it. We've covered the fact that sometimes dating, let's face it, sometimes you're going to be disappointed. There'll be broken promises and disappointed expectations, but it's okay. Protect your heart. Don't be ashamed of wanting somebody, and don't be ashamed of not wanting to be in a relationship. We went through all of the things that you need for an intimate relationship, and all of the things that you need to consider when you're trying to ask yourself, am I really cut out for this? Like, you want to be in a relationship with someone, but are you cut out for it? And then we also talked about not clinging on to somebody, because you cannot convince someone to love you. Okay, we are moving on at the bottom of page 87 of this book, How to Be an Adult in Relationship. It's the 5 keys of mindful loving. And I'm a therapist. I've been a therapist for over 20 years. And this guy, David Richo, I looked him up. He's been a therapist for over 50. I don't know how old this man is, but it said he's been practicing for 50 years. I don't know. So he knows. He has to be pretty up there in age, because it's the 20th anniversary edition. So I don't know. He's been around. This ain't his first go around. So he has some lived experience as well as clinical experience. And how awesome he put this in this book. All right. So moving on at the bottom of page 87, he has said, qualified candidates for a relationship. Here we go. Qualified candidates. Once we make our relationship choices in an adult way, a prospective partner who is unavailable, non-reciprocal, and not open to processing feelings and issues becomes, by the very fact, unappealing. Ladies, I'm talking to y'all. A man who's unavailable to you, like he's married, he's in another relationship, a man who's unavailable to you, he should not be appealing to you. My husband should not be appealing to you. Nobody else's husband should be appealing to you, right? What else? Non-reciprocal. It's a one-way relationship. You're calling them, you're texting them, they ain't calling you back, they ain't texting you back. That's not appealing, right? Ladies, they ain't open to processing their feelings. They not talking about their feelings. They ain't trying to have long conversations with you about issues in the relationship. That should be not appealing to you. Oh my God, I'm just playing around. But that's true. I'm directing this to women because I've seen so many women just like get carried off into something that it ain't really there, right? So this is for the ladies. Those men or those people that you might be interested in, they are not appealing, right? Once we love ourselves, people no longer look good to us unless they are good for us. Ooh. Once we love ourselves, people no longer look good to us unless they are good for us. Go ahead. David Richo is really bringing it here. He's setting the stage. It has to be somebody available. It has to be somebody reciprocating. It has to be somebody open to their feelings, right? A person is a candidate for a relationship when he is able and willing to give and receive love, to handle feelings, to make a commitment, and to keep agreements. Not when he can pay the bills, not when he can look good, not when he can do anything other than what was just mentioned here, right? He can show the 5 A's in ways that are pleasing, satisfying, and non-evasive. He can forgive and let go of his ego long enough to work out problems amicably and fairly most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time he can do these things. He follows a reconciliation, not retaliation, reconciliation model in his interactions. So he's willing to talk it out. He's open and willing to solve whatever problems they're there. He loves you for himself, not the latest woman to fill the slot in his life marked female, right? Rebound relationships are especially dangerous in this regard. Rebound relationships are dangerous in so many different ways. That's a whole nother conversation. A suitable candidate, ladies, I don't know why I'm talking to ladies, but men need to hear too. But a suitable candidate will probably meet the following additional criteria. So additional criteria, here's what it is. Lives reasonably close by. I don't know if I agree with that. I like long distance relationships, but this is what David Richo says. You got to be in proximity with each other. Maybe not at the beginning, but I guess if you feel like the relationship is worth it, you do work toward making a plan to being in the same city at least, right? Reasonably close by. But now we have technology and we have FaceTime. I don't know, this book was written a long time ago, so maybe he was talking about the barriers of seeing each other and being with each other. So I can give that. That's sort of like a kinda, right? Can show the full spectrum of human feelings and welcomes yours. Loves to give and receive the 5 A's: attention, acceptance, appreciation, allowance, and affection, right? Loves to give and receive these things. He is, I'm saying he, but it could be he or her, your friend and not just a sex partner, loves your company and compatible. So being compatible is very important. Is willing to talk about relationship issues, has no distracting ties, can make a true commitment. That's possible. Okay, he has no distracting ties and makes true commitment. Has no distracting ties that can make true commitment impossible. So if he's distracted and connected and committed to other things, he can't commit to you, right? So he has to release his ties and his commitments to other things to make a true commitment to you, right? He can't commit to you if he's committed to all these other things, right? So he has to release himself from those commitments and he has to commit to be able to commit to you. such as another relationship in progress, an old relationship that's unfinished, a divorce that's pending, family enmeshment. Children do not represent an obstacle unless they require or are given too much attention that he, as a parent, is tied codependently to their needs and has no life of his own, his or her own. That's for women too, right? Has no active addictions. Let me tell you, addictions is relationship killer because there's so much deception, there's so much lies connected to addiction that it is very difficult to it's just it's just difficult, if not impossible, to have a relationship with somebody who is committed. Yes, Zara, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Family enmeshment. I've seen that in relationships where the mother-in-law will have the key to the house and just be coming into the house anytime they want. They're like, whoa, hold on. We need some boundaries here. Committed. Putting your other people ahead of your commitment. Yeah. Good one. Okay, what else? Does not have a big ego that you have to cater to it or else. I see this with a lot of celebrities. Their ego is so big that you have to be almost like a yes person. Yes, you have to be. They see a partner as an extension of themselves and not a separate person with their own ideas and thoughts. I've seen this happen in relationships that causes a lot of problems where they feel like, you know, I'm this big celebrity. I'm this big famous person. Who are you? Who are you to talk to me like that? I'm a celebrity. You know, I've seen that in relationships. It's not healthy, right? Not threatened by the equality of sexes. No patriarchy here. Has no overpowering political and religious obsessions. I could do a whole show just on that. Just being so caught up into these things. But I won't. I won't do it because I'll be stepping on some toes. Okay. Wants children if you do or does not want them if you do not. Yeah. So that's the thing. You really need to, at some point, have a conversation about having children because, you know, I really think that could be a relationship killer. If one person wants to have children and the other person doesn't want to have children, I mean, that really is an excellent reason to dissolve the relationship. I really think so. Okay, reading on. Has the sexual capacity, accessibility, and interest to satisfy you or can work on it within the relationship, right? That's important. Has no disability with respect to money. Cannot earn, spend, share, save, lend, contribute, and receive. This goes for men and women, right? Has no disability with respect to money. They have to be responsible in all the areas of their life, including income, right? Can give quality time and enough of it to deepen the connection in an ongoing way. Is on a fairly close intellectual par, so you can share ideals equally. Yeah, you have to have somebody. I can't be with nobody stupid. That's tough. If you have to be kind of smart for me, because I that's not a quality I like. Has similar values than yours. Yeah, I think similar value. It doesn't have to be the same, but there needs to be a nice level of overlap in terms of values. Is not looking for the ideal man or woman. Need the ideal woman that's not really real. It's only being realistic about that. Does not appear to you to be ideal. Someone mentioned love bombing earlier. You don't want no love bombing, right? Does not appear to you to be ideal. You are not so infatuated that you can't see his shadow side. You can't see that person's flaws. They love bomb you so much that you can't see some of the things about them that aren't quite right. So I like that one right there. Has done at least half of the work it takes to be healthy in life and relationships. That's right. That's the person you want. You know they're not perfect, but at least they're working on things. The more on the work in the first practice session below. Yeah. So is willing to put in the work to try to be a better person. I love that. Yes. Miss Moss. Yes, you have to have a smart partner. I love that. Let's see, what else we need to look for? Satisfies the ruthless criterion that applies to all significant choices, that a relationship with him reflects and fulfills your deepest needs, values, and longings. They fulfill it. They don't complete you, but for a reasonable expectation, they fulfill your deepest needs, values, and longings for companionship, right? Can and loves to focus on you in an engaged, lasting way. They want to focus on you. They want to spend quality time with you. How can I know this is happening enough? I can remember the last time it happened. So you remember that this person is giving you the attention. And sometimes we think we're in a relationship and then that person doesn't call you every day. He doesn't reach out to you every day, doesn't find out how you're doing. You need that constant contact with that person to really feel like that person is engaged with you and focused on you. I've seen that a lot in relationships where you're just kind of like, this seems to be superficial. You're not really into me. You're saying that you're interested in me, but I don't hear from you for several days. Like, what's that about? That's not somebody interested in having to be with you. You know that a person is cut out when they are cut out to be with you, when they create time in their day, in their life to spend with you, right? That's how you know. Meets the welcoming approval of your personal trio. You have a personal trio. Your head, so logically it makes sense to be with this person. Your heart, you feel like you really care for this person. And your intuition. Follow that quiet little voice in the back of your head to tell you if this person is right for you or not. Y'all know. I've worked with couples where there's been deception and cheating, and I'll ask the hurt partner, how did you find out? How did you know? And usually the hurt partner, when there's been infidelity in a relationship, the hurt partner will say, I kind of knew something was off. They had this intuition that something is off. So it's almost like you think you're getting away with things if you're the unfaithful person in a relationship. You think your partner doesn't know that you're unfaithful on many different levels. They know. They use their intuition. So don't ignore your intuition. If you think there's something going on, chances are you're right. Okay. Do these criteria fit your perspective? Your current partner? Do these perspectives fit that? Woo, y'all. I think I'm going to end it here. This is really interesting. We know today how to find a partner, what to think about, what steps you need to make to find a partner that's right for you, how to find out if you are cut out for a close, intimate relationship, and also how to find out if the person you're interested is really cut out for a relationship. And then we also looked at criteria that you need to evaluate to make sure that you're qualified, that the candidate for a relationship, a qualified candidate for a relationship, what qualities you need to possess to be qualified as a candidate for a relationship, and also what you need to look for. And this is to the ladies, because I think a lot of ladies ignore things that should not be ignored. So that's today. We're going to continue on. This book goes into it. We still got quite a bit to go for this chapter on how to find a partner. Thank y'all for being here with me. I appreciate it. Oh gosh, am I going to come back next Sunday? I'm not sure if I'm going to do this next Sunday because I have a half marathon. I may be too sleepy and tired to do this, but let's just say I'll see you next Sunday. Hopefully I'll be able, I don't have much going on Sunday other than my marathon in the morning, my half marathon next Sunday morning. But what I'll do is I'll get a nice good nap, soak in the water, maybe get a massage, and then I'll be reading, and I'll come and we will finish this discussion, this book club, Healing Haven Book Club, How to Be an Adult in Relationship. It's the 5 Keys to Mindful Loving. Catch up with us if you haven't gotten the book. We're on chapter 3. You can see my previous videos on this in the show notes. And thank you all for joining. Thank you, Zara and Rhonda and Lynn and Tiffany and Dennis. All of you all, Chili Willie. Thank you. Thank you, Chili Willie. Goodbye, everybody.